What's going on, guys? Nil Guides here. Welcome back to another video, and this is a Gold to Elite guide on how to get the higher wins or the most amount of wins in the weekend league. I know many of you guys are struggling in division rivals, but when you come to the weekend league, you're thinking, I'm in division 1. Why am I only getting Gold 2 in a weekend league? I'm going to explain why and also give you my top tips that really help people get into the higher ranks and ultimately will change your gameplay if you actually implement them. If you do enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe. I do have a second channel, Nil Guides too, and of course all my social media links are down below in the description, including my Instagram, Twitter and Patreon. But let's first get into the video now. When it comes to elite players, the biggest thing I see is number one is that a lot of silver players and gold players make the mistake of using one formation the entire game. Now, that is not a wrong thing to do. You can use one formation the entire game. But do you have a setup? Do you have, let's say if you were going to use a 4-2-3-1 because it's the most meta formation, I think we all know that. Do you have an attacking 4-2-3-1, maybe a somewhat balanced attacking 4-2-3-1, a standard 4-2-3-1, a defensive 4-2-3-1? Do you have that system set up? This is what elite players have. When they go into a game, they know, for example, okay, I'm going to start on a more defensive formation first, and they will play that the entire game. Their skill level can probably carry them the entire game just with a 4-2-3-1. But for some of you guys that are gold players, you might not be able to use a 4-2-3-1 the entire game. You might need a 4-4-2. You might need two strikers. It's the same way when an Elite 1 player plays a pro player. It's a different level. And at that point, what happens is that you need to be able to react in the game. If your opponent, if you go 2-0 down, you can't stay on the same defensive formation. You need to be more attacking. So the idea is you start with a defensive formation in the game. If you're losing 1-0, you maybe go to maybe a bit more attacking. And then you slowly work your way up. And if, for example, you're winning 2-0, you work your way down. And this is the thing. When people are winning 2-0, they're using a formation with their 4-3-3 with their left wing and right wing on stay forward because they think it's a good thing to do. Oh yes, it's working right now. Let me keep doing that. The key thing is to go on the more defensive formation. Come back on defense doesn't make your players defensive. It just means that when you lose the ball, these guys will just come back to defend. That's all that it means. It doesn't mean that they're going to play differently when they're attacking. It just means they're going to come back. Now this is important. When your opponent is winning, your opponent is losing 2-0 and you're winning 2-0, okay? Your opponent's not going to sit on the defensive formation. He's going to go naturally more forward. He's going to commit more players forward. You're doing yourself a disservice by having these players on stay forward. That's the first thing. Now, the second thing I wanted to go into is team. Now, people are going to be like, oh, well, you only get this because of your team. Well, that's why for the last 3 years I've been playing with a 15k team for 6 months, getting elite very easily, just to show you the fact it's not the team. Yes, the team is important. I'm not disputing that because otherwise everyone will be using gold teams. I used a cheap gold team for 6 months. But the most important thing is you need to understand, if I give a god squad, a 20 million coin team to a gold 3 player, maybe he will get gold 2. It doesn't mean he's going to go straight to elite 3. So stop blaming your team. When I first got this game, I had Dembele in striker. He was my striker. I got a new one. That's why I replaced him because I got him untradeable. But I got Dembele in strike and I bought Ben Yedder. Then later on, then I packed Mbappe. I had Mbappe and I had some rubbish 200k team around him. Then eventually I worked my money up, and then once I had enough money, I had 1 million coins to buy Neymar. I sold my entire team apart from Mbappe to buy Neymar. So the most important thing is not everyone just gets a god squad straight away. You have to build your way up. Now, if you haven't got the money, and I know not everyone has millions of coins to spend, not everyone can get elite and fund this team. I understand that. Then get a striker that's got a 5-star weak foot. Players like Ben Yedder and Dembele are meta players, they're staple. Whether you like to use them or not, the most important thing for a striker is a 5-star weak foot. Whenever you're attacking, the reason why most players struggle when they're attacking is they're used to using a player who's got a 3-star weak foot. It makes them very predictable. A lot of people don't understand this, but when they use Mane in striker as opposed to Son, it changes the way your opponent defends. When someone's defending against Son, they have to stand back. You don't realize it, but when you're defending, you think, okay, Son's got the ball. He can go on either foot. But someone like, let's say for example, you put someone like Bamba in striker, for example, he's right-footed. So with the right foot, you know which way he's going to go most of the time. So that's also important to note as well. Now, I'll be honest, in case you're wondering, fullback to centre-back. And this is the funniest thing. I can't believe people are still using centre-backs in the game. If you watch the pro players use centre-backs, then that's fine. They are pro players for a reason. They don't make mistakes. They don't make one mistake in a game. Now, I'm going to be candid with you. The truth is you're probably making 50 mistakes per game. It's a different level. If I was you, play fullbacks at centre-back. The most important thing is pace equals recovery. If you got Langley, even if you got Virgil van Dijk at centre-back, get rid of him. Why? It's because most of the time you're going to make a mistake. The higher the amount of pace you have, the better the agility and balance, the better you can recover. If you have someone like Langley and someone who's a through ball in behind, If a pro player used Langley, they would run back naturally and be able to recover, and they'll anticipate the gameplay. You have to understand what your level really is. If you know you can't do that, you put a fullback in your team. Even I can recover very well with Langley, but I still use a fullback. Why? Because if I make a mistake, there's more recovery. I don't even know what to say. I don't know why half the community thinks it's completely barbaric to play a fullback and centre back. I mean, this is not real life. It's just a game. You know, you just look at the stats. Can that player play in that position? That's it. People are too interested in work rates. I play Cuadrado in centre back. The guy's been one of the best centre backs I've used this game alongside Mukiele and Semedo. So that's one thing I want to note to you. The second team in terms of your team is also super subs. Do you have super subs in your team? Now, cheap super subs, number one, is Promes. Every single player should have Promes in your team. He costs 1k now. There's no excuse not to have him in your team. He's a good winger. When it's 70 minutes, if you're using pressure on every touch or team press, you're going to lose stamina. You need to have fast players that can come on, that are very good naturally on 5 chemistry. As you can see, he's got 81 finishing, 90 sprint speed. You need players like that are very, very good, that can come on straight away and make an impact. You don't want someone who's got 50 finishing. You want someone who's got good finishing, good strikers. Akiampong is another cheap example. I used him, 750 coins. I used him for a long time. I've got an untradeable one. I replaced him. I used him for over 100 games. Akiampong is also a good super sub. You want ideally another attacker? Go with someone like Saint Maximin. Saint Maximin, Dembele are also 3. In fact, if you can get Saint Maximin, Dembele and Promes as 3 super subs, you'll be more than good enough. It's better off putting someone like Promes on for someone, let's say you have Lucas Moore on the pitch. Put Promes on at 75 minutes. Probably have a better impact than Lucas Moore would have. What I would say is, if you can afford Dembele, I mean, you should have Dembele in your starting squad. But if you have Dembele, obviously get him as a sub as well. And the fact is, people come talk about chemistry. Now, a lot of people that are obsessed with chemistry, I know some people have OCD, so that's completely fine, I understand that. But the people who think playing players off chemistry is wrong, let them believe what they want to believe. If these people want to believe that, let them. I can tell you from years of testing, I've been using 4 players off chemistry for years. If a player is on 7 chemistry, the only thing that's affected is his chemistry boost. If you go in the pro scene right now, half the players are playing Ronaldo on 8 chemistry. Does that mean that they're doing something wrong? I still think it's barbaric how someone would rather put someone else on 10 chemistry over Dembele on 7. Dembele is the second best player I think I've in this team, in my opinion. In my opinion, I put Dembele in front of Mbappe. Honestly, he's that good. Especially because the 5-star. Now, some people prefer to use someone like, I don't know, like any other right wing, like Gelson Martins in this position. It makes no sense. If you can't put a player on full chemistry, put a player off. It doesn't make a difference. I've been doing it for years. If you really care about chemistry, you can of course build your team. I'm not saying go ahead and use players off on full chemistry. No, I'm saying try to get the most. But as you can see, everyone here is on 7 minimum. 7 is a good thing because you still get the boost of some of the stats. The next thing is splitting your games up. Now, I know it's Foot Champions. I know you have a limited time to play. I know most of you guys have work, whatever. But don't play all your games in one go. I'm not going to say to you every single time you take a loss, take a break, because some of you guys might lose every single game. I'm not saying take a 20-minute break, but if you lose a game, just take a 1 minute, 2 minute break. Just walk away from your screen. That's the key. Walk away. There's so many psychological studies on this. Just walking away from the screen refreshes your brain, because if you lose a game, I know you're going to be like, even I'm the same. When I'm like, oh, you know what? I lost the game. I got BS that game. I should not have lost that game. Then you think, okay, you know what? Let me go into the next game. But you end up going into the spiral. You end up losing. And you know what I'm talking about. You're probably sitting there and you probably go through the same thing. You go into that spiral like, oh yeah, let me just play one more game. Don't. If you lose, take a break. Because when you're losing, especially if the game screwed you over, you're going to get angry. When you're angry, you make more mistakes. More mistakes means more goals conceded. So always remember that. The second thing as well is use fake shots and step overs. Now, in all honesty, look, there's no guarantee that you're always going to get through. I would say concentrate on a few skill moves. I concentrate on the fake shot because I think the fake shot is one of the best skill moves in the game. But let me just quickly show this example. So we've got a VLC play over here. We got an actual game that I record now. This is an example of how I play, right? You can't always walk into your opponent's defender. This is what's important. A lot of players in the silver and gold ranks, they get the ball over here and they have one option. They think, you know what? I want to go from point A to point B as fast as possible. That's not the correct way to go about it. Against the lower tier players, okay, fine, you can walk past your opponent's team. That's not a big issue. But once you face someone who's on the same level as you, or who's better than you, you can no longer walk. That's why people say, oh, the games are so difficult after 13 wins. It's not. It's because once you get the ball over here, people think, okay, you know what? Quick 1-2, let Mbappe make a run, do a through ball in behind. That's it. I should score. But it doesn't work against the better players. You got to recycle the ball. If there's not a chance to go forward, use L1 triggers, 1-2s. There's not a chance to go forward, go backwards. Remember, look, as you can see, look, he's using his CDM. A lot of lower tier players would run out with their centre back. Then you would score easily against someone who knows what he's doing, using his CDMs to man mark the players, not bringing the centre backs out of position, keeping his CDMs in shape. You have to recycle. You got no choice. And yes, even I like to play fast, but sometimes you have to understand if there's a situation where your opponent is sitting pretty deep and you can't get through, you need to know to recycle. Over here, watch, I get the ball in Mbappe. Okay, here, I do a fake shot. I realise there's nowhere to go. I don't force the ball, I go and I recycle the ball, pass the ball to my CDMs and I try again. In the end, eventually, I missed the opportunity, I get into a good chance like so, nearly get through. I messed up on my own, but it ends up going in for a corner. But the most important thing is I don't push it. This is the thing you need to understand is if you're in a game and your opponent is playing very, very well, what works for you normally is not going to work. You can't just walk past your opponent. So what I would say to you is split your games up 10-10-10, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I would say play maximum of 5 in one go because I think that's the optimum point. And that's what I would say. Once you split those games up, you should equally get a high weekend league. And don't worry, if you get your first 13 games and you lose 5 games, doesn't matter, you'll recover. If you normally get 10-1 and you lose your first 5 games, don't worry, you will still end up in the same place. Why? It's because of matchmaking works. When matchmaking works is that the more players that you beat, your higher your skill rating goes to. Your skill rating is a plus 15. That's the maximum your skill rating is. If you start losing the games, it will start going down. That's why eventually you start evening out. That's why whether you start on 7-1 or you start on 7-6, most players that are around Gold 2 end up going to Gold 2 anyway, because on the latter end, they end up playing the lower tier players. Now, people may ask, oh, why do I play pro players? Now, listen, if you're 7-0 and your opponent is 7-0 as well, right? You're going to match him. So understand that. If you're 7-0, you can in theory match anyone. So in fact, losing in the beginning is actually not a bad thing. So don't think, oh, I've lost a couple of games, it's bad. It's only if you're going for, you might see some of these pro players in their videos or me or someone else say, I've lost a game, it's over. That they have a different methodology. Like, you know, if you're to go for top 200, then that's different. You know, you can't lose a game. That's it, done. You lost the game. That's your weekend league is over. But the truth is, you're probably not going for a top 200. You just want to get your first Elite 3. You want to get your first Gold 1. So it's important to do that. I'm not saying go ahead and lose your first couple of games, but I'm saying if you do lose, it's not the end of the world. The most important thing is mistakes. That is the most important thing. If I looked at the hundreds of games that I looked at, it's all down to mistakes. Put the fullbacks in centre back is what I would say. Have a defensive formation so that way you got that backup, you got that safety net. So if, for example, you're winning, you can change to that formation. And if you lose a game, just take a break. Yes, the game can screw you over. I agree, the game is not perfect. My connection is not perfect either. But the key thing is don't make excuses. You know, when I played with a 15k team, when I was streaming, I have the worst amount of lag. Yes, I try to avoid saying that, but it's obviously very visible that we all have lag. We all have bad lag. Some people have lag, but everyone's in the same boat. It's not just you. I agree some people have better connection than others, but we're all in the same boat. That's what I'd say. And I'd say ultimately, just have fun. You know, if you're an Elite 3 player borderline, right? Rewards are not that good for getting Elite 3. I know it's shocking as it sounds. It's not. That's why I've not played a full weekend league since the first weekend league, because there's no point. Rewards not even worth it. So if you can relax and get Gold 1, it's better off getting Gold 1 than stressing out for Elite 3. That's what I'll say to you. Just understand that. I would say go ahead and watch my gameplay videos, because at the end of the day, it's all about gameplay. You know, these are tips that will help you maybe get 2 or 3 more wins. But if you really want to push the high ranks, it's all about gameplay. Anyways, I just wanted to make this quick video because everyone's asking me. I'm going to be playing qualifiers tomorrow with a cheap 15k team. I'm probably going to get absolutely smashed. But let's just see how that goes. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Just a quick walkthrough of me just going through some of the things that I think might be very helpful when you start your game. Of course, let me know down below in the comment section what other kind of videos you want to see. And if you are watching to this point, I would say just remember, as I said, watch my other videos. You'll see a playlist towards the end of the video. Thanks for watching, guys. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.